Namaste and good evening. A very warm welcome to all the viewers for the 41st online interactive session Samvada brought to you by Virat Hindustan Sangam, Karnataka. In our 40th Samvada, we had Sri T.S. Chandrasekhar ji, a columnist in geopolitics, who spoke on Bharat external affairs, internal factors, which was highly informative, engrossing, and a powerful narrative. And today we have a very interesting talk by an author, Shri Sandeep Singh ji, who will speak on temple economics. A small brief on today's speaker. Sandeep Singh ji started as an advertising and media professional, served as a VP sales and marketing with national TV channels. In 2006, turned into an author. He has authored 10 books so far on various topics. His articles have appeared on various publications, and some of them have been debated and discussed by national media. He is passionate about Hindu business theory and Hindu way of management. He has built a museum on Indian business history and conducts a walk through Indian business history. He is currently working on a book on temple economics, which he expects to release in August 2022. We wish him all the best in releasing this book. I'm also joined by Kopi ji, General Secretary of VHS Karnataka, and my co-host, Chaitanya Ramesh, this evening. I now invite and request our guest, Sri Sandeep Singh ji, to start this evening's program with a talk on temple economics. Over to Sandeep ji. Thank you.
Namaste. Thank you for a nice introduction, Nikun Shahji. I'd like to thank Virat Hindustan Sangam Karnataka Samvada for inviting me, and also to Pankaj Sahai for recommending my name to be the speaker. And to thanks everybody who thought that I can be a speaker for today's evening. So I'm currently working on a book on temple economics. It's a bit more than on temple economics alone, because our temples are huge and you need a lifetime to understand them. And I'll be releasing it in August. So I'm going to ask 7 questions and going to answer 7 questions. And hopefully they will answer some of the questions that you have in mind. And we also have a question answer session in the end. So if I have missed something or anything that you have in mind, please feel free to ask me. So let me start with the first question. Why now a book on temple economics? Now, this is something very interesting. When the Chinese virus started, no state government said that they have a shortage of fund. Central government didn't say that they had a shortage of fund. But then there was a call to take money and gold from the temple. I was quite bewildered. I couldn't figure out the logic of asking from the temple and what was the reason. But more important that, who was asking? It was the Hindus who were asking. And it's very common to see, why you need a temple. In case of Ram Janmabhoomi, there were a lot of Hindus giving gyan, build a hospital, build a school. So what will do with the government money? Why is the government taking taxes from us? That nobody is interested to ask, because that money we are happy being taken over by the corrupt politicians. But Mandir should not have the money. And my worry was that if this rate we go, there'll be one day Hindus will be on their own moving on trying to break the temple. And as we see it even happening today, the politicians with Hindu names, I don't know whether they are really Hindu or not, on a spree to break temples. Now this happens because of the brainwash, which happens right from schooling in our days. And if you take example of a mass media which acts as an amplifier, force multiplier, well, you're very common to see a murder happening in a temple, but you won't find such thing in other religious places. Uh, a Hindu, if he goes to the temple, he'll be to go and fight with the god most of the time, which will not be the case with other religious places. So we Hindus are so confused when we talk about our mandirs. We don't understand the importance of it. So that was the reason why I said this is the right time to write the book. Now, when I had started writing, I thought it'll be around 200, 300 page book, but it's going to be around 13, 1400 page book now because there is so much of information available and which is relevant for us to know. Also, there was something very interesting is that why always the money is asked from temples and not from other religious places. And for two reasons. In other places, they won't get the money, even if they ask. They can get anything else, but not the money. And the second part is that Hindu temples will give you the money because they generate wealth. Now, this is very important. I'm not talking about temple economy. I'm talking about temple wealth. Our mandirs, our temples are wealth creators. That's something very important. And the sad part is that after taking the money from temple, the same people come to destroy the temple. So these are the few things that we need to understand why it is happening, how it is happening, and then only we'll be in a position to stop it. So the second question is that what is temple economics? Now here I like to make a difference between temple revenue and temple economics. Nowadays we always often see a debate going on in the name of temple economics, but what people are talking is the temple revenue. That is the money which has been deposited in the hundi or the money which has been collected by the temple uh, by rent, or in case if they get any money from the agriculture land that they have lent to people. So that is temple revenue. That's a very small subset of temple economy. So what debates that we see is going around is about the temple revenue, not the temple economy. Temple economy is something really huge. So it starts from the time when things of constructing a temple till the time you make a murti, when you make a kolam or rangoli, when you decorate the temple, when you offer a puja, when you follow the rituals, when you go for pilgrimage, everything revolves around the temple. Everything contributes to the wealth generation, and that creates a temple economy. So that is something really huge. We all know that we offer flower when we go to the temple. I don't know how many of have you ever thought that why we offer a particular flower to a particular god. We all know that all flowers are not offered to the all gods. So there is a reason behind it. So there is a spiritual reason, there is a scientific reason, and there is a pure economic reason also. I'll give you an example of the amount that comes with the flowers. So during Navratri, there is a gate which is prepared in the Vaishno Devi temple in Jammu that consumes flowers for 3 crore of rupees. That comes from in an area around New Delhi. And you can imagine the number of people who survive because of that. The people who grow, the people who come sell in the market, the people who transport the flowers all the way to Jammu, and then the people who decorate it there. Now, drop of a hat, somebody will talk about pollution, I'm sure. But then they are perfectly biodegradable. And now there are various companies who have come forward. Some of them use them in designing clothes, textile, which are exported. Some of them are making incense stick, agarbattis, which are doing wonderfully well. So, so it's a perfectly biodegradable cycle, which provides employment to so many peoples, and that's a part of the temple economy. I'll give another example. Jasmine flower. The moment you say jasmine, what comes to mind is Madurai. When you say Madurai, it becomes Madurai Malegai. I hope I have pronounced correctly. Now, can you guess the rate of 1 kg of jasmine in December 2021? It sold at the rate of 4,000 rupees per kg. Now it has got a Madurai Malagi has got a geographical indicator tag, and in 2021 they exported what 66.28 crores of jasmine alone. And where does it goes? It goes to temples all across the world, right from Saudi Arabia to Europe to America. You can think about the number of people who are making money, who are surviving because of it, and this is a part of the temple economy. Why Madurai Malagi is so popular? Why it's exported? Now there is a scientific reason. And just think how wonderful our ancestors were to realize it and build on it. This is the most profitable business for a small scale farmer who has a land less than 1 acre. So this is the most profitable product to grow. Madurai Malagi has petals which are thicker. So it means that it can retain the moisture for a longer period of time. It also means it will remain fresh for a longer period of time, and hence it is of exportable quality. So that is third beauty of it. Now, why jasmine flower is offered? Obviously, the land is very fertile to grow for this kind of flower there. But not only this, jasmine is very good for your hair. It is good for stress busting. So when you apply it regularly, even as a flower on a hair, it helps. Otherwise, people make oil out of it and use it, and then you can make fragrance out of it and use it. And it is used in several medicine. So it survives just because of that Madurai temple. Otherwise, you would have lost it. In India, we have lost many fruits, flowers, trees because we didn't preserve them. We have preserved only those flowers or fruits, those which are offered to the god. There was a time in India we had a rice variety of more than lakh. Some of them would grow in almost less than 1 inch water, some could grow in 6 inch of water. Some could grow in 40 days, some could grow in 90 days. It's just that we stopped, and today we have reduced to few thousand variety of rice that are available in India. And they have survived because it is stipulated in our mandirs that every day you will offer the Bhagwan a different variety of rice, like in Puri Mandir. So, Puri, in and around Puri, you find maximum variety of rice because they are preserved, they are grown because they have to be offered to the Bhagwan Jagannath. If you remove that, you would have lost those varieties also. So, our mandirs have worked flora and fauna. I'll give you another example. We must have heard of chickpea or a chicken pea. So when British came to India, they could identify with rice and wheat, but they couldn't identify themselves with a chana dal, what we call it in Hindi. So they named it that it is fit for the animals to eat, for the chicken, so they called it chickpea. And the same thing happened with horse gram or a cow pea. Now, so you named it in a such a way that it is a food for the animals and it should not be consumed by human beings. What happened? As a result, are the products which are local, they provide the maximum amount of protein. So Indians stopped eating, so the protein content went down. So the argument was given that your food, vegetarian food, doesn't have much of protein, you must eat non-vegetarian product. So it was such an effective way, just by changing the nomenclature, they are taking away from your culture, they are weaning away from your culture, and on the basis of making a health-based argument, they are asking you to eat non-vegetarian food. So that's how culture is destroyed just by changing a nomenclature. You'll be surprised. In most of traditional mandirs of India, no foreign product is offered to the god. Now, I don't know how many of you know that potato is not Indian, neither is tomato, nor are green chilies. Because we used to manufacture everything. We used to cook our food using our traditional spices. So in the mandir of Puri, neither potato is offered, nor tomato, nor green chilies. And just because of that, our traditional food varieties have survived. Otherwise, we would have lost our traditional vegetables also. In fact, in the beginning, Britishers offered money to grow potato, and they offered money to eat potato also, like the way the tea was marketed before that potato was marketed. So, our temples have played a very important role in preserving our biodiversity. That's a part of temple economy. Because when you talk about economy is not a complete sentence in itself, though as I'm explaining in my book, the word what we need to use is the Sanskrit word Arth Shastra, Arth Vyavastha, and Earth. So mandir or our temples take care of complete Earth Vyavastha, complete ecosystem, biodiversity, everything. It's just not about money alone when you talk about our temples. They're much, much beyond that. So this is a difference between temple revenue and temple economics, and temple economics is much bigger than temple revenue. Now, the third question that comes in mind is that temple economics from when? How old is this? Now, since inception. So, if you read Agamas, mandir should do, what all work activity temple should be involved in, which start from puja to running a gurukul to goshala to taking care of farming to taking care of social issues. And all this involves people from all walks of life. There's a pujari, there's an accountant, there's an administration, there's a person who makes the prasad, there's somebody who makes the chariot or the rath. So if you see, there is a role for everybody in the mandir, and cutting across all so-called caste lines, people work and contribute for the mandir. So from the day you think of setting up a mandir, it starts contributing to the economy. And we have so many temple towns in this country. I'll give you a classic example how old and how successful this is. So this case study, if you Google Rust Belt of USA, you will find something very interesting. You will see the map of Detroit and areas surrounding it. Now, Detroit is something very famous, everybody knows. This is where called the Motown, or where the automobiles were manufactured, right, starting from Ford to all the cars. And there were ancillary units which are set up around Detroit, like happens with any other city. When you set up a big plant, there will be ancillary units around it. Now, over a period, you could manufacture a car cheaper in Japan, in South Korea, in Philippines, in India, in Bangladesh, and so those factories moved out of Detroit, and Detroit had nothing to look back. So Detroit became a bankrupt city. It was called a ghost town. People migrated, and that area was called Rust Belt because all those industrial units, huge industrial units which were there, were catching up with the rust. So that was called the Rust Belt of USA. Now, if you go to any manufacturing country like Russia or China, you will find many ghost towns are there. You can just look in the internet and you will find it because the manufacturing unit that was there was shifted or went out of fashion because something new product came in somewhere else, and that killed the product that was being manufactured in the plant that was in the particular city. Now look at some of the oldest cities which are called continuous living civilization where people have stayed for thousands of years. I'll just give you five names: Pushkar, Varanasi, Patliputra, Ujjain, Rameshwaram. Now, none of them have any industry. They are all temple towns or mandiron ke shahar, and they have survived for thousands of years, 5,000 years or more. Varanasi is called older than history, you know, and they don't have a single industry. So obviously, if you look at it, there is a merit in something called temple economics because there are huge towns and cities which have survived for thousands of years without any break just because they were around temples. So from there, we move to the fourth question: temple economics or temples of modern economics. Now, this is something very interesting. When Bhakra Nangal Dam was being inaugurated, and after that, lot of public sector units came, the first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru called them temples of modern economy. I'm not against public sector. They had a role, they played, and they have a role they should play. But look how important the original temples are. There is a company called MMTC, Minerals and Metal Trading Corporation. If you go on their website, you'll find what I'm talking to you. So they were not making profit. So somebody thought there to approach Tirupati Mandir. So one of the job of Mineral and Metal Trading Corporation is to auction the minerals that are found in India. They call for international bid and sell it in the Europe and other countries. So they said that we are not making money. The Tirupati, where people sacrifice their hair, has a huge market in Europe and other European countries and American countries because they make better quality wigs. And why better quality wigs? Because we follow traditional method. We put oil, maybe jasmine oil, and all those natural oil, and that gives our hair a better quality, which can help making better quality of wig. So that's why they are in a popular demand. So that let's auction. So they tied up with Tirupati Mandir and they started auctioning it. In the process, Tirupati Mandir made money, but more important, profitable company. So the so-called temples of modern economy actually came back to survive. For their survival, they had to go back to the temples of the old economy, if I may call so. So that's the beauty of our temples. And it doesn't stop here. Though I don't subscribe to this part, but because now we have converted our mandirs into tourist places, we shouldn't do. But right now, focusing on the economic part of it, our pilgrimage cities or temple towns, they never go into losses. You can ask any hotel guy, and there are enough reports if you again go on the internet. The airlines which fly to temple towns, they have almost 100% occupancy rate compared to other business routes. They might have seasonality, but when you're flying to a temple town, you will always be 100% occupied. Look at the other beauty, the government department, post office. Post office has started selling prasad. They source it from different temples, and if you can order, they will deliver you the prasad. As of now, they are doing it from 21 temples across the country, and it's a profitable business for the post office, the government department. Post office is also marketing Ganga Jal. They are sourcing it from Rishikesh, and they are not able to fulfill the demand. So that's how the government is making money using Hindu Dharma, or what I call Hindu temple economics. Come back to the railways. You must have noticed the number of Char Dham or different temples routes are being connected by the railways. So obviously, railway is not doing it if they are making losses. They are doing it. They are running the trains because they are making huge amount of profits. So this is how the temples are contributing to the modern economy. Now, next fifth question. So how we lost it? How we lost our temple economy? Obviously, we know the answer that temples were attacked and destroyed in a huge number. Sikandar Bustkin spent almost, they say, 2 years breaking the Martan temple in Jammu Kashmir. So instead of putting anything for productive use, you can imagine the whole labor was employed to break a temple. Nothing constructive. Temples were desecrated. Now, Hindus don't worship in a desecrated temple. So they used to come and throw beef, or they will slaughter a cow. Right till Akbar, everybody did that. The other part was that they realized that they used to take long time. As I said, it took 2 years to break Martan temple. So it was easier to to throw beef. And the other part was just to damage the statues, deface them because they couldn't break them. They were made of such a strong stones. Khajuraho is an example of that, where if you go to see all the statues that were built on the temple wall are defaced, and hence the puja stopped there. Now, to save mandirs, then Hindus started running away. They realized that this tyrants, Islamist invaders, can identify where a temple is because people stay close by. So people started deserting temples. Kailasha temple is one example, and that's how we see nowadays also a lot of temples are found in dense jungle and caves because people intentionally moved away to save the temples from tyrants. And so once people moved away from temples, the puja stopped, the whole economy collapsed, and then the genocide of Hindus in large scale. We know that how Hindus were killed and massacred in Kashmir. The Nalanda, it is documented that after killing everybody, after burning those huge libraries, 9 story, some books were still left. So Bakhtiyar Khan wanted someone to read it. So he looked for somebody who could read Sanskrit. No Hindu was left. So that was the kind of massacre happened. So obviously nobody was left to do puja. And that's why there are so many mandirs are left without being offered puja. So this was what happened in the past. Look at 21st century how our temples are being taken away from us. Now they have come out with innovative ways. Now they are putting a stop to prayer in Sanskrit. Now Sanskrit is something very interesting that here the words not only even the individual alphabets have meaning, they are highly potent and very powerful alphabets. So that's how they contribute to the power of a mantra. And there are enough studies done on various mantras to justify the fact that yes, if you say it in Sanskrit, it carries a lot of power. It does benefit to the devotee. Now, if you will stop doing puja in Sanskrit, the devotee will stop getting benefited. And it's obviously that he will say that this mandir doesn't benefits me and he'll stop coming to the mandir. So this is a nice way to create a distance between the devotee and the mandir. And the government is working beautifully on it. Next is prasad. We have seen the halal prasad are being offered. Now, when a devotee hears this in this temple, the prasad is halal, he won't say anything, you know, he'll just stop coming to the temple. And so, again, another set of devotees are being weaned away, pushed away from the mandir. Now, look at another aspect how our exams have moved. My board exam, when I did in 80s, was in May. It moved to April. It moved to March. Now it starts in mid Feb. You can't celebrate Shivratri. You can't celebrate Holi. You will not visit your temples because you are busy mugging up for your board exams. So this is how the whole cycle has been changed. And when does a Hindu kid get a holiday? He'll get a holiday in Christmas holiday. So, or in summer holidays, the summer heat is so strong that he can't go. Our whole pattern has been changed. Our traditional system was that the holiday used to be in rainy season because then the kid will go home and learn how to do farming. And all our Rath Yatras or Pandharpur Yatras or Jagannath Puri Yatras used to happen in the rainy season. So there was a different way where the whole life cycle was built, where one had a time and opportunity to visit mandirs. Now, there are indirect attacks on again on devotees. What we have seen happening in Sani Shignapur and Sabrimala, lot of devotees said now that has been desecrated. We will not visit that place. So now we have again from another temple we have weaned away set of devotees, and temple destruction is happening. We have seen it Tamil Nadu, everywhere. Rajasthan we saw it's happening all across the country. So the old Islamist invader mindset is still working. Plus, we have figured out new ways to wean away devotees. And PIL, RTI, media, NGOs are the cabal who are working on it. Now, coming to the last part of it, the conclusion. What all encompasses in itself and how huge it is. So, the moment you think of start building a temple, you have to start looking for a nice place. And if you look at all old temples, you will find that the sun rays come at a particular time sign. So obviously, these calculations were done before constructing temple. Now it means we had a very high level of understanding of astronomy, which could calculate the movement of sun and the moon and various stars. To do that, high level of mathematics. That's how we could invent zero and decimal. Now I'll tell you the importance of zero and decimal and how mandirs have played an important role in that. If you look at top 20, top 50 inventions, there are various books which cover. Now, there's only one invention from India is featured there, and that is of zero. And the reason is that the oldest inscription of zero is found in a temple in Gwalior. So there is one standalone mention and one in a 270 or 207 acres of land given to somebody. If that inscription would not have been in that mandir, they would have denied that India invented the place value system and the zero. So that whole acknowledgement comes because that mandir has got that inscription. I'll give you another interesting part when I'm talking of zero. It took church full 500 years to accept the concept of zero because philosophically zero is something huge. We can debate endlessly whether it is an empty zero or does it encompasses everything between 1 to 9. Church couldn't fathom it. It's called Maths War 1 and Maths War 2. The Maths War 2 was integral calculus, which originated in Kerala. Fathom what is infinite and integral calculus, they took another 500 years. So if you'll Google Maths War 1 and Maths War 2, you'll find this thing. And in India, maths originated from the Mandir. Look at the making of Murti. So we still make Murti on the basis of lost wax technology, which is 4 or 5,000 years old. It was there during Mohenjo-daro, and our artisans still make murtis based on that. You know the importance of that? This proves that we are a continuous living civilization. Our ancestors were there 10,000, 25,000 years back, and they have passed on that knowledge to us from generations to generation. I'll give an example to differentiate it starkly. People in Egypt still live, but they don't know who built a pyramid and how it was built. We can build 1,000 years old the way the Brideshwara temple was built. We know how it was built and we can still build it in the similar fashion. We know how our murtis were made thousands of years back and we can still make those murtis in a similar way. So it proves that how old and continuous civilization we are. Not only that, our temples were center of geography. Our whole business revolved and originated around mandirs. If you go to Somnath Mandir, you'll find there is a marking where it is written that from this place till South Pole, there is nothing, no obstruction in between. It means somebody must have traveled that distance, came back, and put that inscription, which is a true fact. Come to the east coast, Konark Mandir. We all know that it was a sun temple which was used to work as a guiding force to the temple and the sellers. And we all know about the great achievement of Oriya businessmen. They traveled till Cambodia and beyond. In fact, still Bali Jatra is celebrated in Orissa and it is celebrated at a particular temple in Mahanadi River from where the whole voyage used to start. So the whole geography, the our navy navigation system, shipbuilding again revolved around the mandirs. So if I have to sum it up, our mandirs were not only mandirs, they were gurukuls, they had a goshala, they were bankers, we had farmers, they developed and irrigated many lands, they worked as a hospital, they worked as orphanage, they were landowners, they are museum. Our whole dance, art, everything is inscripted in stone. If you go in our mandir, uh, if you look, there was to be a huge library. P.C. Ray, the famous scientist who wrote the book Hindu Chemicals, he was looking at Rasayan, a book which talks about traditional Hindu chemistry. He couldn't find it. In the end, he found in two places. One of them was in the Raghunath Mandir in Jammu. So obviously, it proves that our temples were center of science. Mridangam that is played, any instrument of that make can't produce a rhythmic music, but Mridangam can. And Nobel laureate C.V. Raman researched on that, and he gave out the reasons, the uniqueness, how it was built. Our musical instrument, each one is unique in its own way, and they all originated in our mandirs. So our mandirs provided everything that we can think of for today's generation. So when you talk about temple economy, it means is that anything and everything that you can think of on which we survive, our health, our wealth, our clothes that we wear, our food that we eat, the medicines that we have, agriculture land where it is cultivated, the flora and fauna which has survived, everything is because of mandirs. So when you talk about temple economy, it's something huge. We just can't measure it. In my book, I'm trying to some figures, but I don't think we need to measure our temple economy. We just need to understand it, help it grow more forcefully. We need to speak for our temples, and we will be a prosperous nation. India was a prosperous nation always from ancient time because we had temples. We never let go of our temples. Whenever temples were broken, people fought for it and they rebuilt it. Somnath was built 17 times. Varanasi Kashi Vishwanath has been built several number of times. Kangra Jwalamukhi Mandir was built 7 to 8 times after it was destroyed. So we kept building temples. These are the reasons why we are always a prosperous nation. So with this, I'll stop and look forward for question answer.
Thank you, Ji.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Sandeep.
Sandeep Ji.
Thank you.
And I think our Aditya. So Chaitanya, please, can you come forward? You have any questions? Chaitanya, are you there?
I think Gopi, you can
Chaitanya,
go ahead and
okay. Yeah, I think. Meanwhile, I'll ask one. I mean, like, Ji, of late, we are finding the. I mean, like the fruit and the the flowers markets have been taken over by Abrahamics. I mean, like we had a set of fruits and set of, as you said, like fruits and flowers coming from different sources. But now most of them are thriving. The other communities are thriving on our temples rather than I mean, like our Hindus. So your comment on those things?
See, this is something very interesting. If you look at the politicians, their set of politicians always help them to start their own business. If you look at the politicians, they will be keep fighting for reservation and government jobs. They have created a scene that doing your own business is something menial. However good or great
Sinner.
job you might be doing. Yeah. And everybody started fighting for a government job. If you don't get a government job, then you are nowhere. So it is a very clever ploy what they have used to create fault lines in Hindu society, take away jobs, and make people dysfunctional. So it is a very organized system which our people are not realizing it. And we'll have to talk more about it, write more about it, make people aware that what they lost.
Very true, Ji. I mean, adding to that point, I mean, like, uh, I mean, in most of the places, if you're somebody is not employed in I mean, like in a private multinational company or a, government job, I mean, they don't get the girls. I mean, to get married. So
Yeah.
from the girl side, so
Yeah. So
this
that's
level
whole.
of brainwash have been done,
Yeah.
and
Sandeep, I have a question here.
yes, please,
Can I go ahead?
yes, please.
Sandeep ji, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Um, what is the amount of revenue that's generated by all our temples in India, approximately? A very approximate figure per year.
No, I won't be. No, I won't be able to tell you because I worked on it for 3 years working for the book. So there is no study
Okay.
on that. And I
Okay.
also believe that we need not study. There is a reason for it because the moment you
Mhm.
start studying such things, people start trying to figure out to file an PIL, RTI to destroy it or how to
Okay.
snatch it away. So it's good that some things are left unstudied or untouched. It's like ancient times, as I mentioned, that our forefathers left the temples, ran away so that invaders can't destroy. So that's how we'll have to preserve our temples, economy, and the wealth from present predators or invaders.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gopi, go ahead.
And other yeah, other one is like see the government, like for many decades have been giving Hajj subsidies for Muslims and also for Christians to Jerusalem travel or something. Some of the states are doing it. And when you look at our temple,
I lost you when you look at.
You'll have to repeat it, Gopi, once
oh,
again.
oh,
I think
I think let me, yeah. When you look, sorry, when you look at for Hindus temple circuits, the new temple circuits that have been done, they're charging twice or thrice the charge amount of prices, the original price. And can we get subsidies for them? I mean, like, why not subsidies for Hindus and remove all the subsidies for others? They have enjoyed for more than a decade or a century now, and time for Hindus to get all the subsidies now.
Yes, I totally agree on that part. And what Hindus need to do is that stand up and demand for it. And the problem is that some of us
Yes,
get into that show off mode that why bother? I have the money, I'll go. So it's not a question of show off, it's a civilizational battle that we need to understand. And we need to put our
right.
foot down. And even if you have the money, we must demand that government must pay for our travel because they are doing it for others.
Yeah,
And as a secular country,
and
constitution which has a secular word, they must do it.
anyway, the
God,
secular word is been falsely included into the system of under emergency, right?
No, yeah, so my
So
point
that
only
has to
is
be looked
limited
in
is
first of
that
all.
if others are exploiting it, let's exploit rather than
Yes.
complain.
Okay.
Till they say
I think we should.
till
Yeah,
they say
definitely.
we are getting exploited, so let them say,
Yeah.
instead of we saying that.
Yeah.
So if 80 crore
And
Hindus
other
start
thing,
using secular, exploit and demand saying that stop, let India not be secular country.
yeah, that is true. And other thing is like the temples also was a part of like bulls rearing, right? If you look at major high level bulls, which are being used for the rearing of the, I mean, what do you call, breeding of the cow, I mean, like calves, I mean, in those areas. So these bulls were used and preserved in the main temples, I believe. Temples have been again the protectors again for the bulls, of course the food grains, a lot of food grains, and also elephants, right? I mean, many of the living beings,
I lost the last part. Elephant after that.
many of the other living beings.
Yeah. Yeah. So as I said, the agamas prescribe that Goshala is one of the important part of it. And as I said, temples used to preserve different kind of forest. So there are certain kind of forest where munis can go and do tapasya. There were certain kind of forests where you can go to cut or pick fruits. So they're segregated zones. So there was something segregated zone for the animals also, and that's how every god and goddess is associated with an animal or a bird. Because they need to be protected and preserved. So we have slowly started destroying, as I said, everything. Uh, so we just need to, the other wrong practice that has developed recently is that we started getting into justifying everything. There was a scientific basis to it.
Oh,
Does other Abrahamic religion try to justify anything? This is the way the puja needs to be done. That is how our scriptures say. That is how our ancestors, our forefathers told us, and we should do it. And there'll be stop to it. Now I get funny arguments seeing in judiciary that agamas doesn't say this, to have worship only in Sanskrit, or you can't have worship in Tamil. Muslims or Christians can come and pray. That's what court will say tomorrow. And he'll say, "Ki, let Christians and Muslims also come in the temple," because agamas doesn't say that. So this funny interpretation of Agama Shastras or scriptures, we need to start protesting vociferously. uh, we need to maybe plan a day every week that we have to come out on street, because in today's time it is the what you call the brute force, that is what the government is fearful of. If Abrahamics can show brute force on the ground, government will listen to them. Hindus don't do it, so then don't listen to them. Or it's like they're saying the baby which cries only gets the milk. So we need to start trying more of it, play
crying
victim
now.
card more of it.
And most of the temple towns of late have been infiltrated by the Abrahamics today. Many of the peaceful places. I mean, temple towns were peaceful places earlier for thousands of years. Unlike now, these Abrahamics are like misusing and doing the stone pelting on the, I mean, on any procession or any rituals that is being practiced. So how do you want to take further about? I mean, how do you want to react for this, or like strategize this to neutralize those things?
See, government, I doubt will do anything. I'm very clear on that. You know, government will be limited to maintain peace and harmony. You know, they will do it. To them, it doesn't matter who gets suffers more. So it's the Hindus, the common man, will have to start standing up for themselves. I keep saying that stop believing that any force will come to protect you. And the beautiful reason that we need to think is that Bhagwan Ram didn't call for any divine intervention. He went all the way to fight Ravana face to face. You know, Krishna, if he wanted, he could have killed everybody at one go from his Sudarshan Chakra, which he did to show what he could do with Shishupal. So he said, people go and fight. He took an avatar to fight. So we always believe that Aham Brahmasmi concept. So we'll have to start developing that self belief that we have to fight our own battle. We have to fight our own war. Our Bhagwans did it. Ram did it. Krishna ji did it. So let's stop looking at someone else to come and fight for us. And that is what is lacking and which has been brainwashed to us for several years after in transfer of power. Transfer of power happened. I don't call it independence. We are still not. So
Yeah,
till transfer of
stands for
power,
the
people
yeah.
used to Hindus stand up and fight for themselves. After transfer of power, they thought
Yes.
government will take care of them. Army will take care of them. Army didn't come to your rescue in Jammu Kashmir. I'm sorry to say that, but it's a hard reality. We saw what happened in Alwar, and the police was just bystander in Karoli and watching it. So what happened in Hyderabad yesterday, the love jihad case, the girl says we had complained to the police. Police didn't protect us. So we have to start learning that it's our fight. We have to protect ourselves. Nobody is going to protect us. And that's the solution. The faster we
Yeah.
understand, the better off we will be.
Gopi,
Yes.
now that we have Chaitanya
So
Ramesh here, let me ask a question.
Ji Namaste. I was very keenly hearing the entire session, and thank you for enlightening us with a lot of things which we were not knowing. Now, my question to you is, I'm not sure if this relates to temple economics, but I believe it should. What are your views on non-Hindus doing business outside Hindu temple premises?
See, I have a very
they shouldn't.
dharmic answer to it. We have a very clear-cut prescribed method to do puja, you know. And if you're buying it from the people who are not dharmic, then you are not fulfilling the duty or you're not doing the puja properly. And hence, you will not get the desired result that you are expecting. So don't come back and blame puja or Hindu dharma because your puja is not done in the proper way. It's like if you've done a chemistry lab practical, basic titration test where you have to drop the 10th drop, the color changes. But if you've changed the quantity or if you have infiltrated something, it won't change the color at the 10th point and you lose your mark or you won't get the desired result. So just simple as that. So if you have not followed the pure puja paddhati, then you won't get the result. So whoever wants to do business, they should not be allowed. But more important is that those people who are buying from them will not get the desired result from their puja, what they are expecting, and that is what we need to drill into our brains.
Thank you.
Go ahead. You have another question, Chaitanya? You've got another. You can ask another question if you can.
Any more questions, Chaitanya?
Actually, this is related to the same thing. Like, how do we stop the non-Hindu people who are doing business outside our temples? So that one thing is dharmic reason, that is like we are not able to fulfill the actual rituals what are have to be fulfilled. So how do we stop them? Like either the government has to do that, and that is highly impossible. I don't think so that will happen. Now, looking at the awareness thing.
No,
Again, it is a very long run job. So
No,
how do we?
it can it can be done in a flat 6 months time if Pujari develops the guts to say to the devotee that have you bought this
Devotees.
from which place? Are
जी
you sure? मतलब we know that कि हम हम जूठा मतलब we can't carry the food which is jutha, which is eaten for a prasad.
जी
We take the
जी
fresh,
जी
correct?
जी
So that is as simple as that. A pujari tells that, have you bought this from right place? You know,
जी
and those who go to mandir, they visit every, at least 90% of them will be visiting once in 6 months. So it just
जी
needs 6 months to tell everybody, imbibe that, fine, I'll do the puja from where you got, but just remember, if you have not bought it from the right place, you will not get the desired result. Don't blame the bhakti or the
जी
god for that. So we just need to make people aware of it.
जी Thank you.
All right.
Gopi,
Any more questions, Chaitanya?
No, sir. I'm done.
Okay.
okay, Gopi
The
can answer.
last question, and before winding it out, so will ever Hindu temples be released from the government clutches? Hindu means like Indic temples.
Well, the answer is very simple. We all talk that we didn't get independence because of Mohandas Gandhi's way or Jawaharlal Nehru's way. We got the independence because what Subhash Chandra Bose did, what Bhagat Singh did, what Chapikar Bandhu did, what Master Surya Sen did. You know, we have V.O. Chidambaram Pillai, the way he fought. So, are we fighting the right way to get our temples back? But answer is very simple. We need to introspect. If we think the method what was employed by Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru and the Congress was not the reason how we got the independence. We think we got independence because the way of Savarkar or Jhansi ki Rani or Tatya Tope or Rani Chennamma, then we might follow that method to free our temple. So the answer lies there.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Ji.
Okay,
Thank you.
I think you
And
can. Yeah.
I will wind up the question. We'll wind it up. Anything else, Nikunji? So
No,
we'll wind it
I'm
out
done.
then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On
Can I
behalf
just say
of
one
VHS
line?
Karnataka,
Yeah, sure.
yes,
Exactly.
please.
So I'm writing a book, as I said, on temple economics. I'm using a very different model called crowdfunding. I wanted to reach every district of India. So anybody is interested can write to me at templeeconomics@gmail.com. Very simple.
Sure.
Templeeconomics@gmail.com. I'll share the details. Yeah.
We
Thank you.
will, we
Please
will,
go
we
ahead.
will, we will circulate this in our groups too. We will do that.
All right, Ji. So, on
Okay, go
behalf
ahead.
of VHS Karnataka, I thank Shri Sandeep Singh ji for accepting our request and with a short notice and enlightening all of us on temple economics. Such an enlightening session was that in this Samvada. Thank you, Sandeep ji. Dhanyawad.
Thank you. Thank you
And
so much.
thank you, Nikunsha ji. Thank you, Sri Nikunsha ji. Thank you, Sri Ramesh ji. Thank you, Sri Chaitanya ji.
Thank
Thank you, our technical team, Sri Ishwaraj and Gadigi Rakesh. And in fact, Gadigi Rakesh had today become a father with a baby girl on this auspicious day.
Congratulations.
Congratulations,
Congratulations.
Gadigi
Congrats.
Rakesh, for that. And last but not least, thank you all the wonderful viewers for making this Samvada a success. Please stay safe and please do visit and register at vhsindia.org for further amazing online sessions of VHS Samvada. Thank you. Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Shri Ram.